Hi, welcome back, math scholars. We're picking up from our last video on the linear equations review, where we're actually going to use that step list to graph two equations. So let me scoot this slide up so we can see our graph clearly, and hopefully you have those step lists in front of you on your note page. So we'll start with example 1. I'm going to again color code these so that we can see the difference. So I'm going to do everything for this first example in red and pink, or red and orange, something so that we can distinguish it from the other line, which I'll do in cooler colors. So let's start with construct a graph for the equation y equals 3x minus 4. So you can see our graph has already been drawn for us. We've done step 1 together while we were going through that step list. We've labeled the axes, we've created a scale. Step 2, we need to identify the slope and y-intercept. I know the slope is the coefficient in front of the x, so my slope is 3. I'm going to write that as a fraction, and since it's missing a denominator, I know that denominator is 1. So that tells me I'm going to go forward 1. And because it's positive, I'm going to go up 3. The y-intercept is the constant behind the x term, and the sign in front of it comes with it. Because we are doing minus 4 or subtracting 4, my y-intercept is negative 4. And when I label it, I'm going to label it 0, minus 4. Okay, our next step, we plot our y-intercept first. This is the first thing we plot. So I'm going to go down to minus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 would be right here. And I'm going to label that point as neatly as I can. 0, minus 4. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our slope to find the second point on the line. That's what step 4 says. And our slope is up 3, forward 1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go forward 1. So our next point is going to be right here. And then our last step, step 5, use a ruler to draw the line, check that we did it correctly, and label it. So I'm going to pull up my ruler tool here. See if we can get this rolling. Might be a little tricky. I haven't tried to do this before. Close. Oh, that looks pretty good. Work for you guys? I think that's as good as it's going to get for my computer. So let's grab my line. Trace that all the way down. And let's see if we did it. Yay! That looks good. I'll take it. If I check that again, if I go up 1, 2, 3, grab my arrow here, 1, 2, 3, and then I go over 1, I roughly end up on that line. You will notice a little variation, and when you're doing this by hand, it's hard to line up that ruler precisely. But that looks pretty good. I'm going to draw my arrows to indicate this line keeps going forever. And then I'm going to label the equation. And I like to do it at the edge of the graphing box. So I'm going to label it up here. If you label it along the line, I've seen some people doing that in class. That also looks nice, and you're welcome to do that. Whew. Okay, let's try another one. I'll try and go nice and slow. This one I'm going to do in blue. I think that'll be easy to see. And it says construct a graph for the equation y equals minus x plus 4. Again, that graphing step has been done for us. We've got our graph box. We've got our axes labeled and scaled. Ooh, sorry. Our next step is to identify slope and y-intercept. slope is in front of the x, it's our coefficient, and if that number is missing, we assume it's 1. So this one must be minus 1. And in fraction form, that would be minus 1 over 1. So I'm going to go forward 1, I'm going to go down 1. The y-intercept's the constant at the tail end, in this case positive 4, or as an ordered pair, 0, 4. And we're going to do that exact same process. So I'm going to go first to the y-intercept, which is positive 4, so right here, make that blue dot. And then next, I'm going to use the slope to find our second point. So let me pull up a different color here. So from that point, we're going to go down 1, and then we're going to go forward 1. So that's our second point there. Last step, we grab our ruler, we line it up with those points, and we play connect the dots. Hopefully this is a little easier for you on paper, a little awkward for me on a computer. I think that works pretty well. Maybe. Looks all right. I'll take that. You will notice for both the red and green lines, I did extend those lines all the way across that graphing area. That is important. We want to fill up the graphing space, and you'll see why later this week when we start talking about graphing systems of equations. There are two things I need to do. I forgot to label my y-intercept, and no one was here to yell at me, so I forgot. So y-intercept is labeled. The equation should be labeled. Y equals minus x plus 4. And that looks like a high-quality graph. Labeled, scaled, color-coded. I can see slope triangles. I can see y-intercepts. I can see my equations labeled. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and exit. I'll come back for our last section, which is a preview of coming attractions for systems of equations. I'll see you in the next video.